And we're live. Welcome into another version of the Real G Warner going through the soccer schedule. And I'm going to stop singing right now. Just I've heard about the Gegenpress all day today, it seemed like. So I figured I'd throw that in the list of what we're going through. Per usual, going through the top 5 European leagues. Lots of matches coming up, thick and fast as some people are taking breaks for Christmas, some aren't. And without further ado, we'll get right into it. I feel like we're on a good path of momentum right now and trying to keep that going, especially as the underdogs are going to be endangered species coming up because they don't have the depth to compete with the big teams. And like I said, without further ado, we'll say that for a third time. I'm going to go through the Premier League first because that's where the money is. So Friday, we have a bunch of matches today across Europe. And so I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible, especially that it's a work day. Brentford currently hosting Watford, a quarter goal favorite. I think that makes sense based on Watford's inability to really defend. Brentford has not been playing well and conceded a late equalizer to blow a victory in the match last weekend, I believe, at Leeds. Ultimately, their defense hasn't been great. They've been dealing with injuries back there, and that's been a problem. But their offense is pretty fit, even though Tony didn't start or had some sort of lineup problem last week, or didn't. I don't think he started. If I remember correctly, Sergio Canos filled in pretty well, scored an important goal, of course, to I think to equalize at 1-1 before they end up taking a lead. But Watford missing Sarr is a big issue for them and their offense. And I think their defense is bad enough that I'm not interested in backing them getting a quarter on the road. Moving to Saturday, Manchester City hosting Wolves, currently giving 2 goals with all the juice on the Man City side. That tells me that Man City are going to roll. I'm a little surprised to see the number that big. Wolves defense has proved that it can prevent goals from being scored. Had a really tough loss at the end, close to at the death to Liverpool last weekend. Ultimately, I don't know if that's going to happen again, but certainly lean Wolves on their defense being unlikely to give up more than 2 goals. Moving to Arsenal, Southampton, also Saturday. Arsenal, a 3-quarter goal favorite with all the juice on their side. It's kind of respectful for Arsenal considering what they've been putting up recently ever since they kind of got destroyed at Liverpool, struggled on the counterattack, and then ended up shipping goals. Southampton's offense hasn't been much to speak of for a while now. Arsenal certainly have talented players that can be an issue for anyone to defend, but ultimately I think from where I sit, Southampton are pretty good value at 3/4 with odds coming in that it's likely climbs to +1. The problem is I just don't know that I believe in the Southampton offense enough. Chelsea hosting Leeds, giving a goal in 3/4. Chelsea have been unable to hold Leeds lately, and that's dropped them from top of the table in the Premier League, which they should still be, and also dropped them from winning their Champions League group, which is a big deal for that knockout round seeding and kind of who you end up facing. So that's a big deal. Not loving that, but also Leeds has no offense to speak of. Paddy Bamford coming in as a substitute. We'll see how much he can go, maybe 60 minutes. So he might start, and that'll be certainly a boon to Leeds' chances. But ultimately, they can't really score goals. So I'm not sure that I can back them, even against the Chelsea side. They're really sputtering. This is a good team for them to, I think, try to get off the schneid. However, Liverpool hosting Aston Villa, currently giving a goal in 3/4. Steven Gerrard, the former club legend, coming back is an interesting situation. Liverpool got to rest some players midweek, but ultimately did play a pretty strong lineup in a victory against whoever they played. AC Milan in Milan, if I remember correctly. Villa have been playing a lot better under Gerrard. I'm not sure the goals are really there for them too much, but they've played really well defensively, have stymied their opposition. I'm interested in them catching a goal in 3/4 right now. It's a big spread for an Aston Villa team that had a really great defense a couple seasons ago. We're struggling this year, but then Dean Smith was removed, and it seems like they've been better since. The wholly hard part, or amongst the hard parts, are going against Liverpool, who can score at will, it seems, and Salah is still such great form. But ultimately need 2 goals to beat you and only beat you halfway. Last one on Saturday is Norwich City hosting Manchester United, getting a goal in a quarter. Not really sure I believe in Rangnick yet. Midweek game saw a lot of rotation, so that's good for Manchester United's chances this weekend. Norwich has been playing better under Dean Smith. I'm not sure what that says, considering he really couldn't hack it this season at Aston Villa. But Norwich ultimately ran into a Tottenham buzzsaw pre-COVID or whatever. That didn't go very well, though. Norwich had a bunch of chances that they couldn't take. I think they're going to sit back. They're going to force Manchester United to break them down. I'm not sure that I believe in Manchester United doing that after watching their last match against Crystal Palace. So getting more than a goal is interesting. It's just the seismic discrepancy in the talent on these rosters is like I said, seismic. Moving to Sunday, Burnley hosting West Ham, getting half of a goal at home. West Ham got to rest a bunch of their players, didn't really care about the midweek matches. They'd already won their group. Burnley playing a little bit better, but a really big mistake from Nick Pope last week ended up losing them the match on a game that was pretty even, I thought, against Newcastle. Big win for Eddie Howe. But ultimately, West Ham's offense is really questionable. On the road, laying a half where a draw wins a full unit or full risk, full stake, whatever on Burnley is of interest to me. And I imagine that West Ham will probably catch some money as we head towards kickoff on Sunday as the odds are back. Leicester then hosting Newcastle, giving 3/4 of a goal. I wish Newcastle were a team that I could trust. Leicester's defense has been a disaster, giving up 3 goals to a really, really injured, banged up Napoli side that couldn't even really make a lineup. And so went with a ton of reserves. Is pretty disappointing. And that's after giving up a ton of goals to basically everyone they've played since then, or since I can remember. I think it was Aston Villa and then Southampton before that. That's pretty bad. Tough to believe in a favorite that's going to have to outscore another team. The problem with Newcastle is their defense is probably just as bad. So maybe over 3 is worth a look here. Problem with overs in this sport is you don't get an overtime like you do in a lot of the American ones. Crystal Palace, Everton. Currently, Crystal Palace giving a 1/4 of a goal, which is pretty respectful from Everton considering how they've been playing. Kind of got a surprise win against Arsenal. Was that deserved? I'm not certain, but they had a bunch of goals offsides that were rightly ruled out. So maybe they were a little unlucky based on timing or whatever, but that's part of the game and those are the rules. So it is what it is. I'm not a believer in Everton. Crystal Palace has not been playing great and I think are struggling a little bit right now, but 1/4 goal at home, I think is probably accurate for this one and might even be a little cheap. That might provide some value to Crystal Palace as I'm yawning again. Moving to La Liga, Mallorca hosting Celta Vigo, currently a pick'em. Mallorca with all the juice right now. That tells me Iago Aspas is in contention for this match. I would think that Mallorca would be a favorite and close a favorite if he is out. I can't imagine he's playing as he's suspended actually from yellow cards. So it's kind of respectful of Celta Vigo, who have really had no offense to speak of. Last match they lost to Valencia because of really poor goalkeeping. Of course, I didn't back them, but I back Valencia and fade Celta Vigo. But when I do go against Celta Vigo, they get these ridiculous penalties and handballs in the box after doing nothing for the entire second half as a road favorite. But I digress. Mallorca I really like defensively. Don't really like them as a favorite, though, and not going to back Celta Vigo. Espanyol hosting Levante, currently giving half of a goal. Levante, under another new manager, still can't win, but they don't have to do that today. Problem is their defense has been a little bit better lately, but it's still awful, and it's something that's really hard to trust. Espanyol are great at set pieces, and that's one of those things that I think a bad defense is prone to give up because they focus so much on the run of play that maybe they take a little bit of a siesta on a set piece, and that is how they get punished. Alaves hosting Getafe, giving a 1/4 of a goal. Not playing great. Getafe, under the new manager, brought some offense, but ultimately have been playing very good defense the last couple of matches. I think they've been goalless, which is great as an underdog player, like yours truly. I think Getafe getting a 1/4 is of interest to me based on how they've been playing. It's a big seismic change from where they've been earlier in the season. But ultimately, you're paying a ton of juice right now. So I'm waiting to see what happens with this number and wouldn't hate not playing it, to be frank. Valencia hosting Elche, giving 3/4 of a goal with all the juice on the Elche side, and it should be. That's a huge number for Valencia to lay. Some issues maybe between Bordalas and Gonzalo Guedes. Either he's injured or not starting for reasons that don't make a lot of sense, but came on as a substitute at Celta or in Vigo. And I got to say, Elche, they're really hard for me to time. They seem to kill me as a favorite when they never really should be a favorite. But ultimately, they're going to play a defensive brand of football, and Valencia are a favorite that I want to go against. So Elche, as I get on the merry-go-round or play pop whack-a-mole, I'm the mole that gets whacked every time by Elche, it seems. Whether I go on them or against them, I lose. But ultimately, I think Valencia are too big of a favorite here. Athletic Club hosting Sevilla. Pick them right now with all the juice in the Athletic Club side, which is a big surprise to me. If Sevilla had to go all out midweek for Champions League, which they did not work for them. But Athletic Club can't score goals. They're going to try to play counterattacking football, which I think they will have that opportunity, so that puts them in a better situation as opposed to having to control the ball and score goals, because that's been a big problem for them. Sevilla should have a ton of possession, though, and as a quarter goal underdog, if it climbs there, I will be on them. Even a trip to San Mamés will probably be a really tough place to play. But Athletic Club can't score, and you have to do that in order to cover the spread if you're a favorite. And it looks like they might be heading there. Moving to Sunday, Villarreal hosting Rayo Vallecano. Villarreal giving 3/4 of a goal. Had the tough midweek Champions League match postponed, pushed back a day, and then are playing the early one on Sunday. Going to be some tired legs considering they're in Bergamo in a really cold environment. And Rayo have been awesome. They keep beating me at home, another team that keep doing it, and I keep stubbornly going against them. Their counterattacking football has been great. I love it as an underdog. Like going against it as a favorite still, and feel like a lucky own goal was the loser last time. But ultimately, Rayo at 3/4 of a goal, despite all the juice, even this falls to a half, a road draw is enough for them to cover and take home a full unit. And I don't see a Villarreal offense having as many chances like they did against Atalanta. I think we're a little bit caught with their pants down at the beginning of the match because they knew they had to push forward for goals and weren't really that intelligent. Rayo are great, and I think deserve where they've been sitting despite a pretty slow start to the campaign trying to get to La Liga ready. Osasuna hosting Barcelona, getting half of a goal at home. Barca with all the press going against them. It is what it is. Que lo hay, or whatever the common phrase is. Not great, especially as a road favorite. Osasuna can't score goals, though, so that's a tough home underdog to back, because ultimately you're hoping for a clean sheet, which is possible against Barcelona, especially with Memphis Depay rumored to be missing. I think Osasuna are on my list as fading Barcelona is an idea that I like, as long as until they show me something different. Xavi doesn't seem like he's the monster to bring everything back. But ultimately, I think Osasuna are a scary team to back as an underdog, especially if they concede, because I don't know how they're going to score. But Barcelona's defense certainly isn't impregnable. Real Betis then hosting Sociedad, giving 1/4 of a goal to Sociedad, who had a big match during the week yesterday, actually, and beat PSV to advance in the Europa League. That was very important. Use a ton of their players. This is a quick turnaround, and maybe there's going to be some rotation. Maybe that's what this number is suggesting. But I think Sociedad are a good team that are challenging at the top of the league. Betis are up there, and I think they're really fortunate for where they've been. They also have some decent highs, but some really low lows from how they play. So I'm very interested in the underdog here. Crowd should be good for Betis, but with coronavirus restrictions, who knows what that's going to look like. So Sociedad as a 1/4 goal underdog does seem of interest to me on Sunday. Real Madrid hosting Atleti, the big Madrid derby, and Real giving 1/4 of a goal at home, which seems a little bit cheap to me, though they're got almost all the juice, so maybe this climbs to a half. Atleti with a good result during midweek, but it's pretty good fortune, as most Atleti goal or wins seem to be. I don't know how they score. Real Madrid score from very few chances and get dominated almost every match, but end up winning somehow, some way, and they're going to probably win La Liga again with like one of the worst teams compared to what they're competing against. But it works, so I'm not really sure that I'm interested in Atleti, even if it climbs to a half. Cadiz at Pick'em to Granada on Monday Night Football. Cadiz with all the juice. And as this climbs to them being a favorite, I'll be interested in being on Granada, as Cadiz are a team that are going to surrender possession. That's not good for a favorite. And if they try to possess the ball, that's going to leave them exposed at the back. Moving to Italy, Serie A, Genoa hosting Sampdoria today on Friday. Genoa is a 1/4 goal home underdog. Is saying a lot. It's been tough ever since Yarmolenko came in from the Ukrainian national team. I think he's realized it's a lot harder than playing for Juve or wherever he did in his career. Samp, on the other hand, are not a good team. So seeing them as a road favorite is something I would like to go against, to say the least. Fiorentina hosting Salernitana, giving 1.5 goals. I'm not sure what to say about Salernitana, as they seem to have been on a downward spiral, and that's tough, especially against a team like Fiorentina, who are not great, but can certainly punish the bad ones. Giving 1.5 goals is a big number for them, but I'm not sure Salernitana is a team deserving of my unit. Venezia then hosting Juve, getting 1.25 goals at home. Juve with a big win midweek, wasn't impressive, but they got it done, won their group somehow for a fourth straight year, despite being like the worst club that Juve have been for decades now, it feels like, or at least on a bad stretch. Venezia, really, really tough loss thanks to a red card to their center back captain, I think, which also will be an issue for this matchup. Not great. Venezia's defense has been good. They've been pretty feisty, stingy with their goals, but Juve are a tough group because they have so much depth. Venezia do not. And even at home, I feel like there's going to be a bunch of Juve fans at this event. We'll see. But I guess certainly always lean an underdog, especially against Juve, who are not very good. But I think I'm going to have to think a lot harder about wanting to add Venezia and kind of hope I lay off. Udinese hosting AC Milan, getting half of a goal at home. The Udinese defense has been a disaster. A really tough result against Empoli and their last match, from I think leading to losing 3-1. Nearly played it. Glad I didn't, because kind of time ran against me. And there's a big move on against Udinese right before kickoff. And I think that's speaking about the Udinese defense, which really can't do it. AC Milan with a really tough result midweek, crashed out of Champions League, but I think is really good for their Serie A chances and trying to qualify for Champions League again next season. I'm not sure that really is a blow to the club, because I don't know, they've been out of that kind of running for a while. I think ultimately AC Milan are the better side here, and unless I get more, I'm not playing Udine. Moving to Sunday, Torino hosting Bologna, giving a quarter of a goal. Bologna, that's a big question, is if Arnautovic is playing. If he's in, I think they're worth looking at. Torino, the luster is kind of worn off. I think they're really good as an underdog against the bigger teams, but as a favorite, when they struggle to score, despite having the ball so much, makes it hard for me to want to back them. Verona hosting Atalanta, getting half of a goal. Atalanta with the fixture that was postponed, Champions League, as already discussed. It was at home, which is nice, but in the cold. Played Thursday, have this coming up on Sunday. Ultimately had to go crazy trying to come back. Got 2 goals back from a 3-goal deficit, but ultimately needed to win. And it's tough because they threw everything at it, and I worry about their legs. You also don't want to have leg issues against Verona, who are a team that are going to be on the front foot attacking. And I like what they've done. They've not really had the results lately, but have been in all these matches and they haven't really had or seem to have much luck. Atalanta have been playing really well, as shown by closing a favorite at Pick'em, but all the juice on their side on the road at league leaders Napoli last week with a road victory, which is huge, though Napoli dealing with a ton of injuries. So take that with a grain of salt. Ultimately, Verona getting a half at home, though, are of interest to me. And Atalanta have been catching a lot of money lately, so this might even climb, despite being pretty even on juice right now. Sassuolo hosting Lazio. Pick'em. Lazio as a road, I guess the juices favor them a little bit, but Pick'em is pretty nice. Lazio had to fight for Europa League yesterday, so their legs are going to be zapped quite a bit compared to Sassuolo, who don't play midweek. Sassuolo's defense is not great. Lazio's isn't either. Lazio can score a ton of goals. Sassuolo can score some. I don't know. I think Pick'em is way too short for me to consider Sassuolo. We'll see what happens where this number goes. Napoli hosting Empoli. Napoli giving a goal and a half. Empoli have been really competitive and playing well, and Napoli somehow blew a 2-0 lead and ended up getting a third goal. Leicester had a ton of chances. I'm not sure the Napoli defense is great, and they're dealing with a ton of injuries there and also up front. Empoli have been playing well. I think they've been really competitive, so they are very of interest to me, if that makes sense, getting a goal and a half, especially with Napoli's injuries. And we'll see what the lineups look like on Sunday, as Napoli tends to get bet. So I'm not really necessarily worried, as this one will fall to a goal and a quarter. And that's still okay with me. Anything above 1 really is of interest to me on Empoli. Inter hosting Cagliari, giving 2 goals in the nightcap on Sunday. Ultimately, Inter didn't win the group, nearly did, but went pretty hard trying to win. Beat Real Madrid, couldn't do it. Real Madrid had their number in both their matches, even though I think Inter outplayed them in both of them. Cagliari are a scary team to back because they can't score and their defense is pretty weak. Not get in the way of Inter Milan buzzsaw, especially an angry one. And they played Tuesday Champions League, so that gives them as much time to rest as possible. Monday night, we got Roma hosting Spezia. Roma goal and a quarter favorite. And I don't love Roma, but Spezia's defense has been really bad, and it's hard to trust them to hang around with anybody right now that are in the top tier, 7 sisters, 6 sisters, whatever the number is of sisters now. Moving to the Bundesliga, Cologne hosting Augsburg today, giving 3/4 of a goal, bigger than I expected. But Augsburg have had real defensive issues. That makes me think that that's not fixed. And I don't think there's any crowds in the Bundesliga. So home matches home favorites or should be downgraded quite a bit in Germany because they're so strict with their COVID measures. Augsburg, I guess I lean because the number's so high and there's no real crowd to worry about. I don't think. I need to check. Derek Ray is probably a good Twitter account to look at for there. But ultimately, I think Augsburg getting 3/4 is of interest, but I really need to see that their center backs are healthy because there's not a lot of safety. You still lose half a unit if they lose by a goal. Moving to Saturday, Bayern Munchen hosting Mainz, currently giving 2 goals. Mainz are a really frisky team that are built to play defense and try to score on counterattacks or kind of really fight the ball across the line for one of their goals. Do I think Bayern can get 3? Yes, which would require Mainz to get 1, which I think is probably the maximum that you can expect from them realistically. But it depends then if they can hold the Bayern Munchen offense down as much as possible. They didn't really rest as much or rotate as much against Barcelona midweek, which is brutal, but kind of hilarious also. Adds to the Barcelona pain. So that kind of helps Mainz to have a little bit of a leg advantage, and that's really required against Bayern. Problem with Bayern is they can go up 4-0 in a half. So I probably should avoid this, but I do like Mainz. I think they're going to make it tough on Bayern. And a 2-0 loss would be a decent showing, and ultimately return my money would be a free movie. So it's hard to resist that. I love free things. Hertha then hosting Arminia Bielefeld, giving half of a goal with all the juice in the road Bielefeld side. Even this falls to a quarter. Hertha has so many problems. Came back from the dead against Stuttgart, but falling behind 2-0, trying new things with a new manager. I need to see a lot from them to really trust them as being scary to go against. Bielefeld struggle to score, but I don't know that necessarily they're that far or less likely to score than Hertha, and the crowd stuff in Berlin was already not allowing fans, I think, last weekend. So very interested in Bielefeld. Leipzig hosting Gladbach, giving 3/4 of the goal. Gladbach being down, I think, 5 or 6-0 at halftime to Freiburg in the last matchup was incredible, especially as a 3/4 goal favorite. They're going to have a really angry side. They're going to bounce back. Leipzig playing midweek were able to accomplish their goal of finishing Europa League. It shouldn't have been that difficult, but they were in a tough group with PSG and Man City. So that was probably what was destined to them. But that seemed to be more relief than success or happiness. They fired their manager, and I don't think Achim Bayerlotzer, probably didn't pronounce that right, but I don't think that he's doing much. He was in charge of their most recent struggles. I don't think it's all Jesse Marsh's fault. But ultimately, maybe they switch what they're doing and go back to playing the Red Bull style that Rangnick put in, and the Gegenpress and all that sort of stuff, and that the Nagelsmann possession based. But I don't really know that they have the team for that anymore. They've lost a lot of players. The defense is really young and weak, feeble. I think Gladbach are in a really tough spot to back for sure right now, and maybe you see some changes in their lineup as a result of how poorly they played against Freiburg. But ultimately, they're the team I like. Getting 3/4 of a goal, I think that's way too high in a surely empty stadium, as Leipzig haven't had fans for 3 weeks now. Freiburg hosting Hoffenheim, giving 1/4 of a goal. Hoffenheim's road performance has been so weak. All the juice on the Hoffenheim side, so maybe this falls to pick them, which makes me then interested in Freiburg, who had a pretty easy matchup against Gladbach, taking a 6-0 lead and still keeping a clean sheet was pretty cool. I think Hoffenheim's home offense is just incredible, and something doesn't work on the road. I still don't know what that is. It's hard for me to put my finger on. I guess it's hard to back a Freiburg team that are tough to score or aren't a guarantee to score. And they're going to have to win the match in order to cover the spread. But Hoffenheim's road performances are so problematic that I really hope this falls to pick them and I can not worry about it and just watch for fun. Bochum hosting Borussia Dortmund, getting a full goal at home. But it seems like that full goal usually sounds like a lot, doesn't sound like a lot here. Dortmund crashing out into the Europa League was pretty disappointing. And then I don't think Jude Bellingham got suspended for talking about the referee match fixing in his past and making some bad calls against Dortmund in the Der Klassiker. I respect it. I mean, it's hilarious, especially if he doesn't get suspended and just loses 40K or 40,000 euros. Who cares? He probably makes that in a week. Anyway, Bochum have been fighting really hard. Their offense is not very good, though. Dortmund's is great. So it really depends. Can Bochum defend the Dortmund offense, which should have Haaland, who came on as a substitute midweek? That's scary, especially only getting +1. That's really, really terrifying. And Bochum, they're going to have chances against the Dortmund defense, which is so bad. But I'm not sure that 1 is enough. It looks like on Juice it looks like it's going to climb to 1.25, and I would expect that, maybe even climb higher. But it seems a little bit of a respect right now for Bochum at home, and I think they might be missing that crowd, which has been so important to them, which is a big deal. Wolfsburg hosting Stuttgart, giving half of a goal. Stuttgart are bad and can't really score. They're getting a little bit healthier, but still not that healthy. Wolfsburg had to play midweek. We're a favorite, hilarious at home. Got blasted by Lille, who've been playing better, but ultimately it was a game that Wolfsburg needed to win, and Kofeld still came out in 3 center backs. So I guess that's going to stay. I don't know. I just don't think I can back Stuttgart based on how they've been playing and how they collapsed and gave up another big lead and still can't win. And Matarazzo might have been fired and I missed it. Moving to Sunday, Greuther Fürth hosting Union Berlin, getting 3/4 of a goal. I mean, it's a massive price for Union to lay on the road, especially after crashing out, finishing last in their Conference League group. But that's good for them, and I think makes me happy because they've still been a great team to back in the Bundesliga and should be moving forward. I think this is a tough spot for them, and Fürth are the worst team in the Bundesliga that I've seen in years, so I'm not going to back them. So I will skip that one and move on to the next. Frankfurt hosting Leverkusen, giving 1/4 of a goal, or excuse me, Leverkusen giving 1/4 of a goal on the road. Makes sense. Frankfurt have not played well this season. Glasner's offense is not great. It's a little bit different as a home underdog, though, than I was expecting that I might be able to play Leverkusen, but that was probably dreamland. Leverkusen's offense is great. They could rest during midweek because they had already, I think, clinched the top of the group in Champions League. Frankfurt had to play a little bit to try to hang on and win their group. So there's a lot of things here going against Frankfurt. And the fact is they can't win a high-scoring battle, and I think that's what Leverkusen are going to play. So I'll probably move on to Liga. So last but not least, going through France. I want to make sure that at least before I get into it, everything's working. It seems like we're still live. So great. All right, we have Nantes hosting Lens, currently a pick'em. Juice pretty much even both ways. That seems pretty disrespectful to Lens, who are a lot better. But I don't know. I need to see what's up with COVID coming back and affecting some teams now. It's always a scary thing and probably means you can't play any sort of bet until you see lineups. Brest hosting Montpellier, currently Brest, 1/4 goal favorite at home with all the juice. That's saying a lot. Brest have been playing great, I got to say, but ultimately Montpellier have a better offense. Even on the road. And so I'm questioning that one a little bit, especially if this climbs to half of a goal, as I think Montpellier would be on par with either Bordeaux or Saint-Etienne, one of those who are really struggling, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So interested in Montpellier getting 1/4, and especially more interested if it gets to a half. Reims hosting Saint-Etienne. Reims 1/4 goal favorite at home with all the juice. Saint-Etienne, as they climb to more of an underdog, look of interest to me, but ultimately Reims have been great, added an offense this year, and I've really liked them as an underdog, and I'm not sure I want to go against them unless this climbs to a half, and even then I'm not sure that I do. Moving to Sunday, Lille hosting Lyon. Currently Lille a pick'em, but all the juice on their side. Lyon got to rest everybody midweek, or yesterday in Europa League. Lille had to go nuts to try to win their group. They did in the Champions League, so that's a big deal for them. I don't know if they party after that or what the story is, but I'm a little bit surprised to see Lyon trending towards 1/4 of a goal, as they get a lot of respect from odds makers or the marketplace within Ligue 1. And I think as 1/4 goal underdog would probably be very close to making my card, if not on it. Angers, 1/2 goal favorite at Clermont Foot. Clermont have not been playing well. Look like the relegation side, newly promoted side that are going to fight relegation. Started off really hot on the front foot. Pun intended, but ultimately have not done very well lately. And Angers have been the surprise of the season. Maybe this falls based on the juice to 1/4. Probably was where I would make it, I would think. But I'm not sure that Clermont, even at getting a half or something, I want to go against Angers, because I do think that they're good and a team that I want to back as an underdog and kind of avoid as a favorite. Metz hosting Lorient, given 1/4 at home. Lorient with all the juice right now. Metz never get a lot of respect. I mean, they're a bad club because they've sold on all their good players over the last few seasons, and they've completely changed their momentum. Kind of remind me of Granada from La Liga. But ultimately, Lorient's defense has been so bad, and I can't really explain it because their strategy works, and it clearly doesn't work this season, but I like it. I don't know what to do with this one. As Lorient become a bigger underdog, it becomes more interesting to me. But ultimately, Mets have been playing well. Lorient have been a disaster and probably a team that you need to avoid. Troyes hosting Bordeaux. Currently, Troyes 1/4 goal favorite at home. I'm interested in Bordeaux because I don't really believe in Troyes. Bordeaux's defense has been really bad, though, and that's a big concern against the Troyes side that know they need to win here because these are the points that they're going to need to get at home against struggling sides to stay in the league. But I'm not sure that the will to win really matters too much. Bordeaux, as a big club, are always going to be interesting to me on the road here, as I think they're more talented than Troyes. And I still don't believe that their defense is really that problematic. It just seems to be something that's happened with them a couple seasons now, where if they give up a goal, they're giving up a bunch. So it really depends when they give up that first one to Troyes and if they can score themselves. It's probably not like the most genius thing I've ever said. Rennes hosting Nice, half a goal favorite. Rennes at home. Nice normally would be a team that I want to look at as an underdog, or they always are under Galtier. But ultimately, Rennes have been playing so well, and Nice have kind of been on a downward spiral lately, I got to say. Always interested in Galtier getting a half, but I'm not sure if that'll even make my card based on my respect for Rennes at this point. Strasbourg hosting Marseille. Pick them right now. All the juice on Strasbourg. Marseille haven't been playing well. Strasbourg have been playing great, scoring a ton of goals. I was hoping that Strasbourg might be a cheaper pick 'em. Probably wasn't going to ever see them as an underdog here, so that was probably dreamland again. But ultimately, Marseille aren't really a side I want to back right now because Strasbourg have been playing well. Did a lot of good business bringing in Gamero to bolster an offensive attack that needed it. And the defense seems to be stabilizing a little bit, but it hasn't really mattered because they've been scoring so much. Marseille want to be in an open game, and certainly that helps them, but I feel like they haven't been the same team since starting early in the year, and that starting well early in the year, and that might be because of the European commitment. PSG hosting Monaco, big one at the top of the league-ish. Monaco is still trying to fight from like 5th or 6th place, get into the Champions League places. PSG goal and a quarter favorite at home. Not in love with PSG, really. Monaco have a ton of depth, so they won their Europa League group. They ultimately have been able to withstand a pretty poor start to the season, or trying to kind of round it to gear, round it to form. I do worry about their defense a little bit here, but that hasn't been the problem this season. It's been their offense. And I think that they can give PSG some trouble because they have a really deep squad, can rotate coming off the bench at 60-minute mark, bring in some new fresh legs that don't drop off, where PSG seems to be thinner and thinner, especially with the Neymar injury. PSG's defense has been really problematic. Can Monaco, a poor, struggling offense against a low block, but can they turn that around? I think they might even be able to, because PSG will offer them loads of space, as they're going to be on the front foot the whole time for sure. PSG also always question their motivation and their mentality. So getting more than a goal is of interest to me. We'll see what happens where the number goes, as I imagine that PSG, because they always get bet that more money will come in, and Monaco might even climb to 1.5, and that'll make it really hard for me to avoid. So that is the top 5 European leagues in soccer for this week. I am the real_G Warner, underdog player by nature, in all sports really. But feel free to throw me some questions if you got them, either on the YouTube stream, StreamYard, wherever you're seeing this, on Twitter at the real_G Warner, and hopefully we can win some more bets this weekend. Talk to you guys soon.